Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. My name is Clinton Geoffrey. Along with me is Adam Ross, as usual. And I think Spencer plays with the aspect ratio just to mess with Adam's picture, but all we're getting is chin up, buddy. You look short tonight.
I'm pretty reclined tonight. I'm pretty comfy, if I'm going to tell the truth. Leaned back on the couch watching you wrestle with audio issues, as you have been the last couple of weeks, and I just sit back. As one sudden move from me, and my audio is going to go out because I'm too cheap to go out and buy another headset. But we really, really need one.
I got one for you. We'll get you fixed up. We have a good show here tonight, folks. As you know, this is our Tuesday night chat session where Adam and I get together and talk about whatever we want to bullshit about each week, and we invite you to come along and throw your barbs and your questions and your input out as well. Tonight we're going to welcome Mark Rinaldi from Brighton Speedway. In a few minutes, Mark will be joining us, and we're going to talk about some of the business of racing and what's been going on with the government and that battle that continues to rage here in Ontario, and I'm sure in a lot of the other states and areas where racing has been affected by the COVID situation here in 2020. We're going to throw out a few more things for you guys here tonight. My statement question, Adam, is do all racers need a nickname? As announcers, we tend to hang them on a lot of people. Some nights we adopt the nicknames that other guys have been bestowed with. So we'll talk about that, and that's what we want everybody's input tonight. Feel free to comment. Do all racers need a nickname? My vote is no, and we'll explain what warrants you to be bestowed with the nickname. Let's say it. A couple of things we're going to talk about. Just quickly run through the rundown so everybody knows what we're up against. Truckers are out there. They want kids to get pumping those arms again. We're going to talk about the NASCAR championships. Do playoffs belong in racing? And our Burger Barn video of the week, along with a few other great topics, including the launch of GeForce Esports and the Blacktop Rivalz event coming up tonight. That's all I got so far, Adam. How are you, buddy?
I'm all right. I'm tired today. I got a question for you. So we have a bit of a preview screen. Clinton and I can look at who our guests are, and they're up on camera so we know when they're there. If you glance over really quick at our guest, Clinton, does it remind you of anybody? This will be a big stretch. Like, you would never, ever say this in a million years, but...
I may type an answer, but I'm not going to say it live on the air. Who you got?
Out the corner of my eye, I thought I was looking at Ron Jeremy. The first thing I thought when I glanced over there, just the shape of his face as he's sitting there looking on, and the start of Movember. Either that or Super Mario Brothers.
I was going to say he had the stance of Doug Leonard, but, maybe not. I've seen that look on Doug. Anyways, as we make fun of Mark Rinaldi, who's off camera already.
I'm not making fun.
You just said he looked like Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy used to be a shining star. When I glance over there, I'm looking at 1985. Yeah.
But have you followed the news lately? That's like calling somebody Bill Cosby these days. It's not a good compliment. All right, let's move on, because this is supposed to be a racing show, not about our lack or care thereof of.
So we're gonna talk about the NASCAR championship. We're gonna talk to Mark Rinaldi, and I want to talk about extreme coincidences, Clint. That my theme tonight is extreme coincidence.
Are you gonna tell us now, or is that something you want to get to after Mark?
There is no way you can take more than 35 elite race teams.
Okay. Time out. You're jumping ahead.
Know ahead of time who the top four are going to be. It cannot happen.
That brings us to a whole big topic about playoffs in racing and the championship, and was it fixed, and extreme coincidence. So we'll get to that. Without further ado, let's first off give a shout out to all the great supporters. Caldecott Millwrights, Jibs Action Sports, Six Nations Bingo, Burger Barn, Brian's Farm, the big supporters of everything we do here on Race Rivalz, and of course our good friends at Pinty's. It's been an amazing season for us. We appreciate your support even here in the off season, And we want to thank all those businesses that help us get this done and kind of pay the bills here behind the scenes to keep all the mice running in the wheels. Without further ado, let's bring in Mark Rinaldi from Brighton Speedway. Mark will join us now. Mark has been fighting the battle, if we can, or at least maybe leading the charge, or if not, at least being the secretary to get all the tracks on one page, if you will, or one email chain, and to talk about, first off, earlier in the season, how we got to go racing. Mark was kind of the guy that a lot of us track promoters were reaching out to when we had questions about what was allowed, and Mark was the one who was mostly in touch, more than any of us, with the government directly as it related to the racing situation here in Ontario. So, Mark, welcome to the show. How are you doing? Do we got him? Mark?
He's frozen. He's frozen, staring directly. Oh, okay, no. Now he's looking the other way.
Can you hear us, Mark?
I can't hear you guys.
Oh, there we go. He can't. Okay, he can't hear us.
All right, Spencer, get to work on that for a second. We'll get back to Mark as soon as he says he can hear us, and we will sort this one out. I notice he doesn't have his headset on, so I'm not sure if that plays into it.
Yeah,
Spencer, you got us now, Mark? All right, we'll go back to Mark. Mark, welcome to the show. How have you been?
Good. I was better before Adam called me Ron Jeremy, but hey, what the heck? It's Movember.
I didn't say you were acting like him. I said out of the corner of my eye, it was either that or Mario and Luigi from Super Mario Brothers. And really, I'm not.
I've been called all three of those recently. So you're not.
Okay,
Mark,
so thankfully I'm not crazy.
The business of race started back with the emails with all the tracks most recently. There's a couple things going on. A couple things I took from the email string most recently was, one, just because our season is over on the oval tracks and the outdoor summer series, there is a whole bunch of other motorsports events that do need answers. And to quote you yesterday, the snowcross events that are trying to plan for winter events, they need some answers from the government. And I know you've been hounding them there. And there's also talk of some financial support or petitioning for some financial support to help out the tracks that were shut down this summer. Quickly on both situations, where do we stand?
Yeah, so we had a meeting with the Ministry of Tourism yesterday. Alex Nagy sat in on the meeting with us, and my dad, Lou Rinaldi, and we all, explained and tried to once again convene our unique situation of motorsports in Ontario to the government officials. And, at first they tried to imply, well, now is a good time to work on it because we have lots of time. And we were very clear that we don't have lots of time. Like I said, we're now representing the Snowcross Association. They start in January. But not to mention all of us, we need to build a schedule, and we need to, I explained to them that, corporate sponsorship was a huge part of the revenue stream for all of our tracks. And we need to be able to post a schedule and start trying to sell advertising to our events and to potential sponsors and try to get back some of the ones that weren't at the track this year and let them know that we're still here and we need to be planning for 2021. And so that was the big topic. We obviously discussed where our proposal was to date, what's wrong with the proposal, why we can't get anybody from the Ministry of Health to really respond to it. We all understand that the province isn't in a great spot right now, and we're not expecting them to open things up wide open. But I actually look at this new tiered system that they put out last week as an opportunity for us. Most of our racetracks are in rural Ontario, and most of our racetracks are in an area that's likely in the green or the yellow zones that they put out there. So I conveyed to them that I think we need to look at that maybe we base our plans around the structure they've got in place, and the greener you are, then the more people that you can have.
The rules haven't made sense for anybody. So here's a challenge trying to make sense of And I say that because they limit the number of people you can have in a bar or a restaurant, whether your bar or restaurant is 1,000 square feet or 4,000 square feet. It just doesn't make sense. Speedways and venues like that are very much the same. They're all different sizes. They're all have different seating capacity. They all have a different opportunity or challenge to separate people. So trying to do that specifically, Mark, it's a monumental challenge. Do they at least appreciate that when you tell them about the differences in facilities?
Yeah, yeah, they did, and they recognized what we were trying to do and what we were trying to approach. They did try to tell me that they have to be careful with what they let us do because we're part of a larger sector, and anything they allow us to do is going to affect that larger sector. So or sets a precedent for the larger sectors. I did bring up once again, probably a couple times on the call, that I thought the precedent was already set when they allowed 50 people per theater indoors at Cineplex and at movie theaters. And, that there's no reason why, if that's the model that works so well for them, then share the plan with us if we can make it that plan or adapt our speedways to that plan. If we got to break our grandstands up into sections and call them auditoriums, and if we have to stagger people's entry times and stagger the times that people go to concessions, then we can do that. I've talked to a number of tracks that can be creative and make things happen like that. The current method of jamming as many people into the pits as possible, it's just really not. It sort of goes against everything that they're trying to do. Trying to come up with a creative way that we can get more people into the grandstands while recognizing that there is a pandemic in place and we need to do it in a safe and responsible manner. And that's what we've said since day one. And just trying to get that message across, Adam, like you said, it's been monumental, frustrating, a little grayer now than I was at the beginning of the summer. And I think we're making progress, but every time I've thought we're making progress before, we get shot back down. So we'll keep working at it, and like Clint said, we're working at some other avenues in terms of trying to get the tracks some financial support as well.
Let's explain where that is right now, Mark. You've asked the tracks to contact their members of provincial parliament and members of parliament to make sure that the constituents in your area are going to bat for the track and they're aware of the situation and can help kind of push things along. Let's talk about that for a second. And also, is there anything that our fans or our viewers or the race teams could do to help bring attention to the situation or get involved to maybe push things along?
I'll start with your first question, and that was in regards to pushing promoters. And this isn't new. This isn't since day one. We've said to promoters, and we did that. A lot of them wrote letters, but promoters need to do what I'm doing and call their MPP at least weekly, if not every second week, and push for a resolution to this, because our plan it's not getting reviewed, and if it's getting reviewed, it's not fast enough. So what I've done in my MPP, David Piccini is offered to step up to the plate. I'm not even asking promoters to go to their MPPs right now. What I'm asking is, all you got to simply do is send me your MPP's name and your riding, and then my MPP is going to try and rally all those MPPs together in order to set up a meeting with the Ministry of Finance. I would say that some of the promoters are their own worst enemies, where they'll sit and complain that they weren't allowed to race this year and they weren't allowed to have fans and they weren't allowed to do this. But I can't even get emails back from, we're less than 50%. Now, it's only been 24 hours, but how hard is it for them to type an email and give me the name of their MPP and the riding that they're in? That's all we're asking for. And, like I said, we've got maybe just over a handful of promoters of the 31 members. And it's frustrating, because I've stepped up to the plate trying to do this for all the racetracks, and we're really having a hard time getting other people to And come May, they're all going to be the ones that are calling me and saying, why can't we have fans in the stands, So I really need promoters to step up to the plate. So if you're a fan, to the second part of your question, if you're a fan, make sure you've talked to your promoter and asked them if they've sent their name of their MPP and their local and their riding to Mark, so that Mark can set up a conference call. That's my goal. We're trying to through my MPP set up a conference call with all the track promoters and all the MPPs, and just try to make sure all our MPPs are on board, pushing in the same direction. Trying to get a meeting with the Ministry of Finance. Our main goal is our first goal is to try and get some property taxes waived. We all pay significant amounts of property taxes. Those property taxes are based on the fact that we use our property to make revenue. And this year we didn't. We weren't allowed to make revenue, or at least not the revenue that we needed. For me, it's over $26,000, and I'm one of the smaller tracks. I'm sure there's other tracks in more populous areas and bigger facilities that pay a lot more than that. So that's a start. And I think that the government would legitimately look at it, but we need to, you need to press them. They're not just going to give people money. We need to press them a little bit, and that's where I need the help of the other promoters. So that's step one. And then we also have a meeting Thursday afternoon with MP Marion Monsef out of the Peterborough region. So JP from Peterborough, myself, and Lou will once again meet with them. And we're just exploring what options are available on the federal side. If you look at most of the funding that's come down through this pandemic, even a lot of the funding that the provincial government's announced, it's all started at the federal level and then it's been given to the province to dole out. So this is kind of an exploratory call. We're just, we don't know what's going to come out of it. But once again, if you don't ask, they aren't just going to hand it out to you. So we want to go get in front of the federal, on the federal level, and see if there is anything there, and maybe even help tracks in other parts of the country as well, not just ours.
Mark, is there anything you'd like to add? Because I want to thank you for coming on. We are going to follow up with you the next week, 2 weeks, so we'll hear lots from you. Is there anything that we have neglected to ask or talk about?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I think, it's got to be an ongoing conversation, and people got to realize tracks, fans, racers, our next year is in jeopardy as much as this year was. We've got a bit more of a head start on it this year to plan for it. So we need to really not take our foot off the gas and keep pushing, because I think, for the future of our sport, we need to 2 or 3 seasons without significant racing. It can hurt. It's going to have a long-term effect on it. So just we need everybody to keep pushing and keep talking and keep the awareness up there. And we appreciate everybody's support that we did have for this season, and look forward to hopefully having a season in front of fans next year.
Yeah, Mark, I think I'm in the same boat. We kind of have to steam ahead like everything's normal. It doesn't really feel like normal, but we're hopeful it can get back to normal. And, when you look at it from that, the other aspect that you said that struck me was, we're kind of prepared. None of us saw this coming in March, so it kind of struck us. At least I think we've got a plan A and a plan B now, whereas before everybody was just looking at as just getting out there and going. Now we know at least we can do. On behalf of all the race fans, race teams, and promoters, I want to thank you, and along with Adam, for everything you've done to get us out there. Of course, your dad's knowledge of the government system here in Ontario and Canada certainly helped us navigate those waters. So pass on our thanks to your dad, Lou, as well. You guys didn't have to do this, but it's awesome you did and got everybody up and racing. And if you're a race fan here in Ontario, whether it's the drag tracks to the road courses to whatever, you should be sending a thanks out to Mark. So thanks, Mark. I appreciate everything you've done. I know Adam does, as do everybody here in the industry.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Clint. Just quickly touch on that. You said plan A and plan B, and that's, as we're trying to get all the. I think we're a long way from the border opening and stuff like that, and that creates other problems, especially for your big events, my big events, and other people's big events. So I think it's great that the promoters in Ontario have been working together, especially sort of from right and west. And I know the the Quebec tracks have been working with Cornwall and Brockville quite well. So I think there's opportunities that could come out of this. I think all the track promoters are working better together and continue to work better together, because we can't rely on some of our big events. Are going to have to rely on homegrown talent from within the province. And I unfortunately, I don't see that coming to an end this coming year. But if we're all lucky, it will.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Adam, a couple things. It seems like every sentence Mark spoke there, I took a couple things out of at the end there. The last thing he said was, we're going to have to rely on our homegrown talent, which is one thing with the border situation the way it is. The second thing is it's pretty awesome that we can rely on our Canadian talent to still keep racing strong here in the province and in Quebec. And I know it's strong in other places, but that's where mainly our viewership and our touch of the dirt is. So, yeah, that's one thing John Brush said to me. How amazing was it we could have all those awesome 360 sprint car races and rely on only Canadian talent and put 27 cars in the pits when 5 years ago that would not have been possible. So, cool deal. Thanks again, everything Mark has done. Adam, we got a lot of cool stuff to truck through. A couple tidbits here and there, and you and I, we have our thing. Lots of comments pouring in about the old school championship style, and we'll get to that discussion here in a minute or two. But let's knock a couple other things off. We also still want to know what you think. Do all racers need a nickname? We'll talk about that. Let's throw up the trucker arm pump, Spencer, if you can. Throw up that post. I saw this one. It's not really a racing deal, but we do have a lot of haulers, and a lot of the big ones do. Dear parents, thoughts of a trucker. I'm not a parent. Maybe one day, says this trucker. But 6 other drivers and myself were talking at a truck stop about kids not doing the arm pump like we did as kids for the truckers to blow their horns. It's becoming so rare that literally when it happens, we brag about it for weeks. Can we please start teaching kids the arm pump again? Sometimes we have a rough day, and making a child smile by blowing our horns for them when they give us the arm pump can drastically change our day. Possibly theirs too, and we miss that. That's all we want to say. Take care. Okay, bye. I thought that was cool, Adam. I grew up down near the steel mills in Hamilton where we had transports cruising by. We probably saw 10 on our way to school every day, and oh man, we were out there giving the arm pump. So parents, teach your kids that. I thought that was a cool little thing that we can maybe bring to the masses. What's your thoughts on the arm pump? Did you do it?
Yeah. So you have to do it. You're supposed to do it. You should do it.
There you go.
There's no fancy discussion about that. It's just do it. It's the right thing to do. Kids need to be kids. Parents need to be parents. Do your job,
we
parents.
Spend so much time on the highway. That's your challenge tomorrow, to get your arm out the window and see if you can get a trucker to give you a toot on the way. All right? Did you fall asleep? All right. NASCAR champion
to tee up top. I've got opinions on everything, and you're not teeing it up yet.
All right. You're fired up. You almost threw Mark out halfway through the calls just so we could get to your NASCAR championship. I'm going to let you roll with this because you're all fired up about it. NASCAR championship weekend was on Sunday, and a lot of interesting coincidences, as you say, Adam. For one, well, I'll let you run with it, and you can bring the narrative how you want.
All right. We're going to play some history. Here's what happens, and here's why. And NASCAR is a business. NASCAR is in the business of making money. They make their best money through the TV deals that they negotiate. So a playoff system and a championship day where all the hype builds up to that day makes a lot of sense. What they built is really impressive. Stage racing is really impressive. The chase, even though I don't agree with it, I prefer a season-long champion. I think the chase did what it was meant to do. It brought great amounts of attention on more races towards the end of the season than ever before. And it brought that to championship day more than ever before. If I think back in my memory banks, the reason they want this is, in my memory, 1992 was the year that NASCAR keeps trying to recreate. Do you remember 1992, Clinton, the NASCAR championship?
Briefly, yes, but go ahead.
Championship day, Atlanta. 6 drivers still had a mathematical shot at the title. Davey Allison goes into the race with a 20-point lead over Alan Kowicki, 30-point lead over Bill Elliott, mathematically still in contention, where Harry Gant Kyle Petty, and Mark Martin. It represented almost every big team in NASCAR. Robert Yates Racing, Alan Kowicki being an independent, Bill Elliott racing for Junior Johnson, Harry Gant, the iconic Skull car, Kyle Petty racing for Felix Sabates, Mark Martin racing for Jack Roush. Okay, you with me, Clint? You with me so far?
I'm with you.
Does it stand to reason that all 6 of these teams are capable of putting forth a winning effort? Like if they had to pool all of their resources, they could go out there and get the job done.
With regards to Kyle Petty, yes.
Kyle Petty is a great NASCAR racer, and he gets a bad rap. He won a lot of races. He achieved some great things. He was mathematically in the championship on the last day of 1992. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I'm not even going to go there right now. We can visit that later on.
Okay.
Davey Allison gets a hall pass. All he had to do was be consistent all day, get to the end of the race, have a decent finish. He was probably going to be the champion that day. The other 5 have no excuse for not qualifying in the top 5 and running in the top 5 all day long. Do you agree?
Sure.
Best foot forward. Alan Kowicki qualified 14th. Bill Elliott qualified 11th. Harry Gant qualified 29th. Kyle Petty qualified 20th. Mark Martin qualified 4th. Harry Gant was fighting a flu that week, so he's got some excuse for not being great. Ran a little bit outside the top 10 most of the day. He was barely there. Kyle Petty had some issues during the race. He was outside of the top 15. Couldn't overcome those issues, but really didn't have the speed anyhow. Alan Kowicki and Bill Elliott, those 2 did have speed. Those 2 were swapping spots. They were moving towards the front, but also at the front of the field, you've got Ernie Irvin, Dale Earnhardt. Who was the third that was in that battle all day? Like, there were just phenomenal battles at the front of the field through all the people you would expect to be at the front of the field. But these champions, these 6 drivers that were in contention, they were scattered through the field. Are you telling me that in 1992 these teams didn't want to win the title as bad as they do in 2020, Clinton? Are you telling me that Kevin Harvick isn't as good this week as he was last week, or the last 10 visits to Phoenix where he would have been leading laps in this race? Do you think Rodney Childers says, you know what, we're out. Let's just show up, put in our time, have a Busch beer at the end of the day. As long as someone takes a picture of it, we've done our sponsors proud. No, they're all racers. They all want to go there and win. It is inconceivable that the top 4 cars all day long were the 4 chase cars. It is inconceivable.
Okay, but it happened. So what's your take on it? Are you calling conspiracy? Are you calling bullshit on NASCAR here?
I'm just pointing out coincidences, Clinton. So they have created what they have
not really.
created.
You just said it's inconceivable.
Yeah, it's inconceivable to me. Who am I? I'm just an idiot with a headset on.
So what's going on there?
Hard to say.
Here's my thing. I'll play along with it.
That's the question. I don't. Go ahead.
I'll even take it to the conspiracy theory side and say, okay, NASCAR is setting this finish up for these 4 guys to all finish in the top 4 and make that drama even tighter and wrench it up. How do you make the cars incrementally better, that one isn't dominating the other? How do you make them all stick together in a pack like that? What type of advantage do you give them to be just that hair better than the rest? I don't see how you could set it up if you wanted to. So is it just an inconceivable coincidence?
Well, that's the question. I mean, I have no facts. I have nothing to base it on. I just find it so hard to believe. I'm like, wow, storybook finish. Chase Elliott's a great champion. He's a deserving champion. He's a young man who lives right, as far as I know, focuses on the things you should focus on. But we've come so far. I don't want to see them all run in the top 4 all day in any other race in the world. Clinton, you and I ran Rivalz, the pools, for a couple of years. We couldn't even sort out who was going to beat who in a head-to-head battle through the field, let alone name the top 4 finishers in a given race.
Yeah, for sure. Gary says he has insider info. I want to know what that is.
Who has insider info?
Gary Calling says, I have insider info. While we figure that out, a couple things we do want to show as part of this segment. We're we want to show the Alan Kowicki napkin contract that relates back to that
I'm
time
not
where
done.
Adam was talking about. Okay,
Let's go back through history. So all of that said, the stories in '92 were amazing. Alan Kowicki had a one-race deal with Hooters. Because someone Hooters had sponsored didn't qualify for a race, Hooters put together a makeshift deal with Kowicki. They went out for supper and they drew up a contract. And this is what the initial contract looked like for Alan Kowicki with Hooters. This was a time in history, and that's very hard to read, but it's a napkin from a restaurant with a couple of signatures. Alan Kowicki, Hooters agree. And I mean, this is amazing. Talk about other stories. Davey Allison that year shatters his right arm in a crash at Pocono, just about knocks his eye out of its socket. Detached retinas or blood vessels burst in both eyes. He looks like some sort of a circus freak to get where he's going. Never missed a start. And did you know back then, Clinton, the rule was you could have a relief driver. Whoever starts the race gets the points, but you cannot be assisted out of your car. So he had to get into the car and get out of the car under his own power. Bobby Hillen sub for him at Talladega. Dorsey Schrader sub for him at Watkins Glen. Here he is in the title hunt. Bill Elliott was a walkaway champion in 1992. He was going to win the title until September. Then 3 out of 4 races he finishes outside of the top 30, brings everybody else into the fold. Harry Gant was a non-issue until you go into September, and he wins 4 races in a row. He won every race in September. Like it's amazing the different stories that came together to build that season, and they were all stories. And do you know what happened when they interviewed drivers, when they interviewed Davey Allison in Atlanta after he was out of the race?
what's that?
He congratulated his competition on a great season. And people used to do that. They would all congratulate the champion. Not one person did that this year, Clinton. Not one. And that, to me, is the challenge. They're getting away from the personalities of these drivers. They're all spokespeople. I want personalities. At least Chase Elliott gives us a bit of that, and you've got that. You've got a video for that.
Yeah, show that video of Chase going back to the Dawsonville Pool Hall. This is downtown Dawsonville, Georgia, from yesterday, and they drove it right into town, did some donuts, and quite a good celebration. I'm a fan of Chase Elliott for the simple reason he's a gentleman. Our sport needs more guys like Jimmy Johnson, which he's cut from the same cloth, the same with his father. The first time that a NASCAR most popular driver has won the championship since his father did it back in the day. And I think Chase is a great representative of a sport that's in trouble. And he's the type of guy we need to help push things to new eyes and new support. Unlike a guy like Busch, who just seems to bash everything he can if things don't go his way some days. And turn this up, Spencer. We'll watch this for a minute. Then I also want to look at the coincidence report that came out. This some of the other coincidences with him. That's probably we'll get to that in a second. You can hear the Dawsonville Pool Hall siren going in the background too that they're always talking about. And congrats to the Elliott family. Chase, born racer, come up through the ranks from the early days right into it. And, he may be young, Adam, but he's paid his dues for over 20 years in the deal, or close to 20 years. So good deal. Let's throw up the coincidence thing that was tweeted out yesterday, Spencer. Also, this is another thing that came through social media that I thought was very interesting. In 1988, the Lakers win the NBA. In 2020, the Lakers win the NBA. In 88, Dodgers win the World Series. 2020, Dodgers win the World Series. The number 9 wins the CART title in 88. The number 9 wins the IndyCar battle in 2020. And Chase Elliott wins the championship in the 9 car, as his dad did in the 9 car. Some interesting sports coincidences there. And those are some inconceivable coincidences also, Adam. What do you make of those numbers?
That's pretty cool. I think it's really cool when people find those things. And Doug Erskine, I think, is right. He corrected me on my long rant there. I got my years mixed up. Harry Gant went on his streak in 1991 to become Mr. September, which was a fitting nickname. Let's go back to that argument, Clinton. Not everyone should have a nickname. Nobody should want a nickname that they didn't earn. And that's why people shouldn't all have nicknames. Mr. September, great nickname for Harry Gant. Handsome Harry Gant, another great nickname. He was a handsome fella, great set of teeth.
I think that there's, it's almost a crutch some announcers use, and they just slap a nickname on everybody. And some guys out there, you look at them like, how's he ever get that nickname? He's never done anything. So in my opinion, not everybody needs a nickname. And I don't need to hear that nickname every time the driver's on the track. That's my other pet peeve as I go to other races, when you hear that nickname drilled in just constantly. So it was just a topic we had. Quick story from my experience as an announcer with nicknames. It's been a wonderful experience, but it's also bitten me in the butt too. I made a comment about Aaron Turkey. One night he was on fire, and I said, your turkey's burning. His mother took exception to that. And I got a full scap, a bit of a complaint letter. So I had to talk to, Aaron's mom. And
that's not a nickname. That's
no,
you disparaging someone's family name.
Yeah, well, I guess so.
I think it's pretty creative.
Hey, it looked good and sounded good with the fireball as he was going by. But to explain them, I got picked on for my name. Like, just, I don't need to go down the road, but just look what's close to my name. And I took a beating all through school. So I certainly wasn't trying to do that. I explained to her that, sometimes as announcers, we're just trying to be entertaining. We say things a million miles a minute. A lot of times, we're trying to be funny or entertaining and certainly not hurtful. And I just explained to her, sometimes it works. Look at Pinball Giverson. We called him, he looks like a pinball, and now his wife calls him Pinball. I don't think she probably called him Mike in 30 years. So, it's been great, and we're just having fun out there. So if your announcer says something you don't like, just talk to them. I promise you they're not trying to hurt your feelings. They're trying to make you laugh and gain you some fans. And that was a good discussion. Still, feel free to write out there and let us know what you think. Who needs a nickname, who doesn't? And we'll go with it. And the other thing is, as an announcer, you should kind of check with the drivers. A lot of the times in my 25 years announcing, Adam, I've heard of drivers who just hated being called something.
So let me tell you, Dave White, who was DJ Kennington's crew chief for a long time, now he's building late models and Pinty series cars. He's always been known as Whitey. He was on with Doug Brown for the longest time. Like, he's been around forever. And Dave White is kind of miserable. Like, he's got a game face on race day. He's not the friendliest guy. He's very focused. He's doing what he does. One night we're in a hotel. It's going back 4 or 5 years ago in Nova Scotia. And we're just shooting the breeze that night. He says, you want to know something? I said, what's that? He said, I never liked the name Whitey. I hate being called Whitey. Oh my goodness. Like, I've probably done it repeatedly for 10 years in the Pinty series, right? So
sure.
I made a conscious effort to never call him that again. And I forget how it came up this past year. He says, I was only joking, right? Are you kidding me? So the things you do, and you hear in passing, you never know when someone's joking or not. So that's why I stay true to myself, Clinton. I call it like I want to for the most part.
One more thing we want to touch on about playoffs and racing. Put up Angie Jankowiak's post, and we're going to get Andy J on this show in the next couple of weeks. We definitely talked about bringing him on, a great pavement racer from the Buffalo area, and he brings up a good point. He says pretty much, I can't get behind the scripted finish to the NASCAR season. It shouldn't come down to a good car on one track that may fit a driver or one good pit stop. I miss the dignity of seeing Dale Jarrett or Jeff Gordon get in a wrecked car on lap 105 at Bristol and coming back 150 laps down with no fenders, 20 miles per hour off his pace, just to try and pass two cars, basically because it meant it at the end of the season. I miss the drama of seeing the point leader come to a road course or short track they struggle at with and fighting to finish 12th and being damn proud of that effort. That was the drama that real race fans paid attention to, and now it's just gone. I want to see a good team finish 10th with a 20th place car. again to score precious points. We're all getting cheated as fans. None of us will ever feel the drama of the 92 title fight between Allison, Elliott, and Kowicki, because that was a true once-in-a-lifetime moment in racing history, and the true fans know the difference between that and the scripted chase format that's turning fans away. I like Daytona. I keep up on Ryan Preece now that he's there, but otherwise I can go a whole Sunday and forget there was even a race sometimes. And, that's a pretty touching statement from a guy like Andy J, who's raced all over the place and well-respected. And, I can't say he's wrong on some of these levels. They've tried to push a little bit farther to the stick and ball sports. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about where does a good idea become a jump the shark idea, and some of these things that we do see them that I'm a fan of this year, like the choose line, I think has been a great, the choose rule has been a great addition, but at what point do they take it too far?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about
Yeah, and Andy makes a fantastic point. It's articulated very, very well. The other side of this argument, and I'm for every race car driver making as much money as they possibly can. So a lot of these changes have been made to keep the sport progressing, to keep making more money, to keep being able to pay these drivers the huge salaries for going out there and putting their butts on the line every weekend. So when you look at it that way, I'm all for these big changes that are making that better. I just find sometimes things are suspicious. And I like Mike Schmidt's comment, and I'm going to read it in a minute, but I do want to go back to 1992 in Atlanta. Like Fran says, yes, it was Richard Petty's last race. It was Jeff Gordon's first race. It was the only time in NASCAR history that these drivers competed on the same track in a points-paying race. Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, Bill Elliott, Davey Allison, Alan Kowicki, all Hall of Fame drivers, all in that one race in 1992. So to go back to, right? So Mike Schmidt says, there's no way they could fix a race. If they did, everybody, including drivers, crews, team owners, track owners, etc., would all have to agree to it and stay silent about it. It's impossible for everybody to be on the same page. That's my 2 cents. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with Mike in that it's a conspiracy. It is not, because there would have to be more people involved. But it is a plan.
So it is a plan. Is that you're saying they had a plan?
Someone had a plan.
So you are saying
those four
something
drivers,
was set up for
those
Sunday.
4 drivers are the feature 4 drivers for that race.
So you got to wonder if the new electronic systems, if you were going to set something up, could somebody just tweak up those 4 cars? It may be easier than in the past mechanical days, but that's a slippery slope. And let us know what you think on that. Feel free to comment as we're still here on the air. We'll jump back to that if anything comes in.
The one
Jim's
thing that Andy J said
reality racing
that I really believe in is the 1992 championship was a true once-in-a-lifetime event. I mean, I felt for years that there were strange things going on with NASCAR, Clinton. For example, Danica Patrick on the pole for the Daytona 500. Chase Elliott on the pole for the Daytona 500. There are things that just seem very, very odd to me.
Dale Earnhardt winning recently after his father's crash.
That'd be a tough one because that'd be a really tough one because you've got 40 cars that are all fairly similar in speed. I don't want to blow the sport up.
Daytona, where they could just have given him a bigger restrictor plate to go out and get that done. That was the conspiracy at the time, I believe.
But it would still be really, really hard to do. But that's what got me with Danica Patrick winning the pole. I think it was Jeff Gordon. Spencer, if you're going to talk, put a microphone on and talk so people can hear you. Jeff Gordon, I think, was the pole position time. So they were using telemetry to show how the different cars were and where they were picking up time. And Danica Patrick, even the announcers kind of stumbled because they said, well, this doesn't make sense. Jeff Gordon got off the corner better, and here's Danica Patrick just accelerating past it. And, the difference is minuscule, Clinton.
Interesting. Let us know if you think there's a conspiracy out there. We'd love to hear from you. Let's take a look at a couple of other things we want to get to. First off, Spencer, show the election map of racing. I thought this was cool. This came out, I think, like Wednesday or Thursday when all the shit started to hit the fan with the election. Basically, it's a map of racing, and it explains what you like based on where you are. So that there's your new election map. Sprint car, wingless sprints down in California. You've got late models out there. You got Hot Carl down in Texas, big block modifieds up in New York and Pennsylvania. Late models. I thought it was interesting and a pretty funny map there. So it's a bit of entertainment to deal with the election side of thing. The other thing we want to throw up is Freddie Carlton has his car all decked out for Remembrance Day. Freddie always does a great job celebrating things going on in the community. He's always into the parades, and shoot out to Freddie for bestowing his modified here in the off season with a bunch of poppies for the parades coming up here for everything else that's going on. I think there's some amazing stuff going on here as everybody gets together from the racing community to support what's going on in our own communities, and kudos to Freddie for what he's done there. And hats off to all the veterans. And lest we forget, tomorrow being Remembrance Day, hopefully everybody takes a pause at 11 to remember everybody and the reason we're here, be able to do what we are able to do. Trying to think, what else did we miss? Let's jump into our burger. Go ahead.
You know what was a ballsy move on championship weekend with NASCAR? I don't know if anyone else paid much attention to this, but Chase Elliott, that Hendrick team, brought a brand new car to Phoenix. Can you imagine breaking out a brand new, unproven piece to go and race for a championship?
Well,
they mentioned that a couple of times. I thought it was pretty ballsy.
Sure components are right, especially when you have no practice or limited. Your track time is so tight now. Maybe you could have done that before. I think there's some interesting stuff here. Jim Hanley says, coming from a politician, only the USA election was fixed. And wow, interesting topic there, Jim. We could get back to that, but that's for a whole other show. Let's jump into our Burger Barn video of the week. Every week we try and bring you an entertaining video from something in the world of racing or motorsports or wherever we think that is fitting of our Burger Barn video of the week. Just to remind everybody, Burger Barn is open for takeout. Give them a call and check it out. Still one of the most popular places in Six Nations for your takeout food. Great burgers, great fixins. Check them out. Burger Barn. Don't forget to stop in at Petro Pass while you're there. With racing season being cramped down all over North America, Adam, some guys have had to take things into their own hands, and I'm not sure where this video originated, and I'm going to say somewhere in the South. Throw it up, Spencer. Here's your Burger Barn video of the week. Your homemade trike track out in the country. That's
Safety
like
first, kids.
That's like a one beer maximum track there. There's way too many hazards there on that one. But, if you see something that should be our Burger Barn video of the week, send along. We'd love to show it to you. And that's just one of the ones we thought we'd pass on. I know a few guys who have those bikes, so you never know if something happens. We'll bring it to you. A lot of backyard go-kart tracks popped up this summers too. So if you want to, feel free to send us in your go-kart video. On the more serious note, though, Ranceville's doing a bunch of improvements, and they're using their time to do a bunch of, improvements to the speedway and the grounds. We've taken a bit of a video that Jeff Anstedt shared this week and take a couple looks at some of the things going on over at the Big R.
Today, we're just going to do a quick virtual tour of some of the work that's been done at the facility over the summer. Unfortunately, we weren't able to race with the pandemic this year, but there was a lot of work done, and we'll just give you a quick peek of what the pits and the fence look like. Has been 100% completed with millings. So we shouldn't have too many problems with the parking lot being too wet in the early months this year. We still have some nice looking trees changing colors. Here we have the Sid Geoffrey Memorial tree. We're going to be having the Sid Geoffrey Memorial next year once again. It's going to be bigger and better than ever, thanks to Sean and Mike and the entire Geoffrey family. Okay, here's the parking lot just on the other side of the main parking lot near the pit shack. This is the only area that just needs a little bit more completion. Okay, here we are. We are now in the pits, and we're going to look at the surface in the pit area. No more getting stuck on rainy nights. Okay, this used to be really wet back here. We're not going to have any more problems. Here's the Martin Motorsports spot here in the back. And here we have a spot for the Tuttles, Greg Martin, Matt Williamson, Bobby. Okay, here we are. We're on the front row. And here we are at Pete Bicknell's spot.
So you get a good look at all kinds of improvements. The track's looking really good at them, and they look like they're getting ready to roll here.
Does look great there, and I mean, the weather this year is really, or this fall has really played to the favor of promoters who are wanting to put some effort into their facilities, and that's always great to see, and we need to applaud that, Clinton. We've got a lot of people putting a lot of effort into their racetracks, and it shows. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people have mentioned Flamborough Speedway and how good it looked on the screen this year, because they've kept it up well and they've made some nice improvements.
For sure. Flamborough looked great. A lot of tracks, as you said, it put a lot of effort in. Don Speast did an amazing job at Merrittville too. At our Schweeken Speedway, it just clicked to me. I forgot to send you guys these pics. All the concrete got poured at our pit house suites that are going up at our Schweeken. So we'll have some awesome video and pictures of that for you guys next week to show the improvements going on at our Schweeken too. But I wanted to pass that on. Everybody across the river. I know we've got a lot of our American friends who watch us every week, guys like Stephen Petty and Fran and some of the other American buddies who couldn't cross the river, who are huge Canadian fans here. So we want to show them some love too and pass on what we saw from our friends over at Ranceville. Adam, a couple things we want to talk about before we move on. GeForce Esports kicks off. Let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to move most of the gaming to GeForce Esports. Tonight's Caldecott Millwrights Race of the Week will continue to stay here on GeForceTV.net. But very proud to announce the opening of GeForce Esports as we expand our footprint into the iRacing and e-gaming side of things. Your thoughts on everything that's going on here?
I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's the right thing to do. This year, we never expected to get up over 8,000 subscribers on YouTube. Is that where I saw we were at, from 2,000 up to 8,000? A lot of people who love racing. When we were building from the ground up and including everything, what this will allow us to do is build an audience elsewhere who might be more gravitated to esports, and then combine them a little more wisely. You know, it'll allow us to market better and market more specifically between esports and outdoor racing, and be a little bit smarter with how we promote things and how we package things to keep people excited.
Yeah, GeForce kind of took off this summer, as you mentioned, and to take things, just to explain it a little bit further, as I mentioned, we picked up all these subscribers, but we found we started to lose subscribers in the off season because a lot of our real race fans aren't fans of the iRacing thing. So in order to keep the notifications separate and keep everybody notified when the right program is coming on, it just made sense. Another thing you may see come down the pipe for us will be GeForce Digital, which is our production house as we produce more programming going forward. On the topic of APC, our Buckle Up series kicks off again this week with Joe Lawrence, the APC champion. You go ride with him for the first race from Jukasa, and that will be our Buckle Up series coming up later on this week. So make sure you check that out if you have a chance.
Do we get to ride? Do we get to ride with him at sunset? I want to ride with him at sunset.
No, it was just at Ducasa's when we had the in-car camera. And Rivals Blacktop tonight goes to Pocono, Adam. The Caldecott Millwrights Rivals Blacktop Series. What can you tell us about what we're going to see here in about 20 minutes?
Pocono's a ton of fun. It's a huge track that it races like a super speedway in parts. It races like a short track in parts. 50 laps, 3 sets of tires. So you're really going to have to manage your tires. I think the racing is going to be exciting. I think it's going to stay close. There's going to be battles they can focus on, and there'll be a few ruffled feelings from last week. We crashed a lot of cars at Watkins Glen last week. Most of them right at the beginning of the race, so some people were butt hurt before the race even began. But Pocono, it puts on some good racing. I think it'll be a great show.
Yeah, that's the interesting part about the iRacing series as we've seen is, you're never guaranteed. Even sometimes your top guys have problems and find themselves stuck in the back. And, if you've not seen the production, make sure you check it out. That's the Caldecott Millwrights Blacktop Rival Series coming up live from Pocono at 9:10 here on GeForceTV.net. Adam, another great show. We won't hold up anymore. I think that just about wraps up for what we've got. We have our great show coming up next week. We've already got some topics in place. We want to thank everybody for joining us and watching along. And want to thank everybody who watches this the day after. I tend to get a lot of messages on Wednesday afternoon from people who catch up to us in the morning. And we appreciate you cycling back to join in, even if you can't be live and interactive with us. It means a lot that you take time to at least check us out.
In the world of coincidence, Clinton, if John Schweikart, Claude Furland, Jeff Cote, and Jason Metcalf finish in the top 4 tonight, that is our top 4 in points. Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it's just me overreacting. Do you think those 4 will finish in the top 4 this evening?
It's plausible. Those guys got their stuff together. And I say that because I've been out there and in their way and wrecked them in practice, and I don't appreciate doing that. So they could get it done. The other thing is we harped a lot about the 92 championship tonight, Adam, but there were many years other than 92. And I challenge everybody, if you got nothing going on, you're looking for something, YouTube some of the older races. You'll be mildly surprised at what the old facilities look like compared to today. Like, you go back and look at that 92 race from Bristol, it looks a hell of a lot different than it does today at Bristol.
Yes,
And they're exciting to watch. I jumped down that rabbit hole for a whole week there during COVID and watched all kinds of old shows. Once again, I want to thank all our partners for getting on board with us. We appreciate everything you do, helping us bring this program to you. Adam is off to Pocono to try and qualify. Spencer's off to do whatever Spencer does on Tuesday.
Spencer, we got a comment from Gary Short on the YouTube that I want you to save for next week, because I think it's vital. It's going to be one of our topics next week, because I think it's a fascinating point, and I think we're going to talk a lot more about it moving forward. But thank you, Clinton. I'll let you sign off. I'm going to qualify.
See you next Tuesday. Talk to you later. Spencer, thanks for everything.